investigators at this point in time are investigating a case of arson attack last night and, of course, a case of murder. We understand that talks between e-hailing services as well as taxi operators are currently ongoing. But for now, let's bring in Vhathuka Mbelengwa. He is the spokesperson for e-hailing South Africa. We understand the MEC for Transport in Gauteng had a meeting earlier today with the various stakeholders that have been affected. Vhathuka, a very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for your time. Of course, this is a horrific incident of this murder that happened last night. Speak to us about what you know and what you can tell us at this stage. And as police, of course, are investigating this particular matter, at the latest report, we understand that no arrests have been made as yet.
Good day, good day. Yes, it's a horrific day within the industry, but it's not an uncommon occurrence. And I think what makes it even more horrific is how we've become within our transportation sector. Our position as NEFSA is simply to say that as the Federation of E-Hailing, we want dialogue to happen, we want stakeholders to engage, and we want peace and calm to come about. We want government to acknowledge its role as the custodians of industries and give directive to what must happen in this industry. There is a legitimate claim and there's a legitimate grievance from every element and every participant in the space. I think what's important is for government to create the ecosystem for healthy participation. I think it's most unfortunate that a decade later that such horrific incidents are happening. I don't know what the body count must be for government to intervene. But what we are starting to see, which we've never seen before, is attacks now on the minibus taxi industry. Now, it's very uncertain, the current space and time we're in. We solely blame it on criminality. But we don't know what's going to happen. It's most certainly uncertain times. And what is certain about these uncertain times is that there'll be more people dying. Yeah. Unfortunately, should we not have effective leadership that is going to step in and arrest the situation. Vhathuka, I feel that the president and the minister themselves need to speak up.
Vhathuka, if I can come in there, we heard, of course, early on the MEC addressing members of the media. We also have been listening to various interviews being conducted on the scene, including from a taxi association. The concern across the board is that there seems to be a fragmentation of leadership in as far as the e-hailing services are concerned. At one point in time, we told that there's no structure within the e-hailing services in South Africa itself. I mean, what do you have to say about those concerns?
Look, what's happening on the ground is that over the decade or so that has been, you've got more organizations formed, you've got younger people with greater energy at the moment, and their frustration and anger is still new, you understand? And we're finding ourselves as a society really at the precipice of absolute collapse if we're not careful in this moment. Because if we don't give direction to that young energy, we're going to have a collapse. On the other hand, you need to acknowledge that it is the community of Pimville at the forefront saying that we as a community are tired of this. And they are themselves stepping to the forefront saying we want to speak on behalf of our community. Not on behalf of e-hailing, not on behalf of minibus taxis, but on behalf of their community. So there are various voices, young voices, energetic voices that are coming to the forefront. But this is indicative of a fact that e-hailing is unregulated, it is unstructured, it is an industry that has no point of entry that is clearly structured. It is an industry with participants that government cannot account for. And therefore, there will be chaos, and therefore there will be a lot of leadership structures that are giving way because the industry is looking for a solution. The industry is looking for structure. And if government is not going to aid in empowering proper structures to be recognized and ensure that participants in e-hailing know which structures to fall within, you know, we all know that each industry has a council. Santaco is the council. with a good working relationship with NTA, they are recognized as the industry leaders. You know, that is a starting point for us to build an ecosystem within transportation so that everybody knows what's happening. You understand? It's easy to identify the minibus taxi industry. It's easy to go knock on STS's door and ask for their leadership. Whose door are you knocking on in e-hailing? Yeah. Especially at a regional level.
Yeah, and just given the fact that there's also what we're seeing, a case of, lawlessness, to what extent do you think, these concrete regulations around e-hailing services will bring some level of certainty, stability, and also a safer environment?
I think regulation guarantees that, because in a regulated environment, I know my role and my place and my price point as an e-hailing operator. And we are also able to control the influx of vehicles into the industry within e-hailing. Historically, meter taxis, there was influx control. They had a start point. The industry has evolved, but certain principles need to remain in place. Now, we've got a transport industry that has so many assets that every economic hub in the province is overly saturated with vehicles providing transportation. And therefore, the pricing remains and the competition becomes unhealthy. Regulation prevents that. Regulation levels the playing field. Regulation will allow for local app companies to come to the forefront, because what's killing them is that the price determining instrument that does not exist allows for Uber to continually undermine the pricing within industry. And the way they are undermining the pricing is also undermining the compassionate fare that is charged by the minibus taxi industry. For me, what I hate most is that in this dialogue that has been spanning over a decade, is that we are not at the point of accepting that it is government that must regulate, it is government that must give and dictate terms to Bolt and Uber. It's not for them to negotiate with Bolt and Uber like they're doing us a favor. They are here to participate within the South African economy, and they are the custodians of this economy. We need to collect more tax. Yeah. They're not structuring a billion rand industry.
Vhathuka, thank you so much. Let's leave it there for now. Really appreciate your time. And that is Vhathuka Mbelengwa, spokesperson for e-hailing South Africa.